I'd like to call to order this regular meeting of the Lincoln Lancaster County Planning Commission of May 27, 2026. A printed agenda is available outside the hearing room, and a copy of the full agenda, including the staff reports, are available online or at the Planning and Development Services Department, room 203. The Open Meetings Act is posted just inside the door at the back of the room. In addition, a copy of all staff reports and other relevant documents for the matters to be considered by the Planning Commission are included in a binder that is located on the dais and is available for public for review. Out of courtesy for those attending this meeting, commissioners and staff, cell phones may not be used in the chamber during any portion of this meeting. We appreciate your cooperation. Please note, the Planning Commission action today is final on the following items. Item 1.1, Special Permit 24011A. Item 1.2, Special Permit 26022. Item 4.2, Special Permit 25001A. Item 4.3B, Special Permit 26024. And Item 4.5, Special Permit 26016. Any aggrieved person may appeal final action of the Planning Commission to the City Council or the County Board by filing a notice of appeal with the clerk within 14 days following the action of the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission action on all other items is a recommendation to the City Council or the County Board. The first item of business is approval of the minutes of the regular meeting held April 29th, 2026.
So moved. Edens?
Second, Rodenberg.
Ball,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Edens,
Yes.
Fight,
Yes.
Joy,
Yes.
Rodenberg,
Yes.
Ryman Yost.
Yes.
Minutes approved.
The next item of business is the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda will be called at the same time and will not be scheduled for a separate public hearing unless there is a request from someone wishing to speak or at the request of a commission member. I will now ask Shelley to read the consent agenda items into record. Once those items are read, she will ask if there is anyone wishing to speak. If you wish to speak on an item on the consent agenda, we would ask that you stand and state that item. That item will then be removed from the consent agenda and scheduled as a separate public hearing under Section 3 of today's agenda. All items remaining on the consent agenda will be voted upon in total with a motion for approval. Shelley, will you please call the items on the consent agenda?
Item 1.1, Special Permit 24011A for Cedarhurst of Lincoln to amend Special Permit 24011 to expand the boundary in aid dwelling units for the residential healthcare facility generally located at South 70th Street and Pine Lake Road, and this is final action. Item 1.2, Special Permit 26022 for the Factor ADU to allow an accessory dwelling unit generally located at Southwest 140th Street and West Spring Road, and this is also final action. Are there any ex parte communications to be disclosed on these items?
There are none.
Are there any ex parte communications that took place or additional information you learned while visiting these sites to be disclosed?
There are none.
Is there anyone here wishing to speak on these consent agenda items?
We do not see anyone here that would like to speak on the consent agenda items. We will now entertain a motion on the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second, Rodenberg.
Ball,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Edens,
Yes.
Fight,
Yes.
Joy,
Yes.
Rodenberg,
Yes.
Ryman Yost.
Yes.
Approved 7-0.
We will now proceed to the public hearings. Prior to staff making a brief presentation, each staff person should state their name, agency, and address. The applicant will then be requested to present their testimony, followed by those who wish to testify in support, followed by those who wish to testify in opposition. The staff will then be given an opportunity for rebuttal. If during your testimony you have copies of documents or materials you would like distributed to the Planning Commission members or included as part of the record, please provide them to the clerk. Each person testifying should state their name and address and shall have 5 minutes to speak unless additional time is requested and granted. The clerk will use the light system to help aid your timing for your testimony. The lights will appear on the monitors provided. The clerk will indicate when you have 1 minute remaining to wrap up your testimony. The red light indicates that your 5 minutes have expired. Once that final minute has lapsed, the clerk will indicate your time is up. The Planning Commission will vote immediately at the close of the public hearing unless the commission votes to defer action or continue the public hearing. Shelley, please call the first public hearing item.
Item 4.1, change of zone 22023A to amend the Turbine Flats Plan Unit Development to add approximately 4.47 acres, more or less, with a change of zone from H3 Highway Commercial to R6 Residential PUD, including associated waivers to lot and height standards, generally located between North 22nd Street and North 23rd Street, between Y Street and W Street. Are there any ex parte communications to be disclosed on this item?
There are none.
Are there any ex parte communications that took place or additional information you learned while visiting this site to be disclosed?
No, there are none.
Good afternoon, Ben Callahan with Planning and Development Services, 555 South 10th Street. The item before you today, this is a change of zone to amend the existing Turbine Flats PUD. So that PUD was originally approved in 2022, and so the black outline is what's existing today along Antelope Valley Parkway, Vine, and then roughly up to Y Street. So this request would expand the PUD by a little over 4 acres and would rezone it from H3 commercial existing today to R6 PUD. So there is a small area here that's not called out, but that is R6 within the PUD today as well. So this would continue to follow the existing or vacant rail line that used to run through that area, and then much of the property is owned by Lincoln Lumber. And this is a better example here of how the PUD would look after expanding the boundary, with the blue being R6. And then what they're proposing right now is mainly focusing on this site east of North 23rd. So you might recall end of April, you had a street and alley vacation come through, and that was actually for this site here, what they're calling out as Area 1. And then that was submitted with the grading and drainage plans, but mainly to set it up to allow multifamily, and that existing alleyway would be removed if approved by City Council. Overall, would continue with the waivers that were approved in the PUD, and then a little background from the deferral from 2 weeks ago. So we worked with the applicant. So on the staff report, that had some language that was struck through, and mainly that was working with them as we weren't supportive of parking going all the way out to the property boundary, and a lot of that was in an effort, as there's still surrounding residential to the north and south, and to keep at least a 10-foot green space from the parking area to the public right-of-way. And then with that, so they'll follow a 10-foot perimeter boundary along the site. And then we're requesting to reduce the parking to 1.25 stalls per unit, which we found would be consistent in this area, as it's close to downtown, which doesn't have a parking requirement for multifamily in the downtown area, as well as near the university. And then worth noting, to the east is just the end of the Mopac Trail, and so they were going to provide a sidewalk connection to North 24th Street, so that would be easily accessed. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
We have any questions? Thank you.
I think.
Good afternoon. My name's Kent Seacrest. Noah Chestnut from Rega Engineering is here with me in case you ask anything too technical. He'll be the expert on that. We're representing the Lincoln Lumber Company, who's developing Copper Spur Apartments, which is the site plan that Ben just showed you. What's kind of unique about this one is most of the time we're up here trying to upzone something. Today we're talking about a down zone, which doesn't happen very often because it's zoned H3 today and has many more uses that are allowed. And now we're saying we can go down to a zone that's R6 to make that go forward. And what I find interesting is I'm old enough that in the late 1990s, and maybe it was 2000, I got to knock on the doors. I was representing the city, the Lower Platte South, and the university on Antelope Valley. And I was trying to talk to the owner of Lincoln Lumber, encourage them, is it time to move? Because there's basically on three sides of them, they're surrounded by a residential area. And I'm just kind of tickled pink that I'm here 25 years later helping them to relocate or to shut down Lincoln Lumber and to do housing, which is more consistent with the plan. And if you have ever studied the comprehensive plan, it shows, get this to work, it shows the area, and we're talking primarily this is the first phase. It shows it as orange, meaning it's supposed to be residential. So we're downzoning, but we're also still consistent with the comprehensive plan that is called for. And we just feel that we're doing a good job. If you remember, our comprehensive plan says 25% of the new dwellings are supposed to be infill. And I always thought, boy, that's going to be a hard one. Well, here we are talking about an infill opportunity that includes the greater downtown area. The more rooftops help keep downtown viable economically. And it's one of the few sites in and around the downtown that's not in the floodplain. So that's a real attribute that I'm proud about. And we happen to have 5 bus routes going, either one north along Y Street and 4 along Vine Street. So we have good connectivity, which is really, really important to us. We had a neighborhood meeting. It was a stormy night. 6 brave souls came out for that. And one of the questions we heard was, are we providing enough parking? And what you need to understand is we could have taken the original B3 PUD, which we're extending, allows residential and it allows 1 parking stall per dwelling. And we could have gone that route, and maybe we should have, because then we wouldn't have needed a waiver, because we're doing 1.25 because the normal R6 is 1.5. So we are doing 25% more parking than the typical B3 that we could have, would have, should have, maybe have done along the way. And some of this is because of the bike trail. Some of this is because we got all these buses going by. And some of it is just walkability to the downtown area. So we feel that staff has agreed to our waiver on this, which I think is really important. The other issue that was raised was the question about the Mopac Trail continuing. And the city, make a long story short, had litigation about this with Lincoln Lumber in 2004. They lost at the 8th Circuit and concluded it could not be rail banked along the way. And so the city built an alternative trail network around the site that's there today. If I can find it among my maps.
Mm-hmm.
You see that little red star?
Mm-hmm.
It's not hard. That's us. And so back in when the city lost their lawsuit, went ahead and turned the Mopac slightly to the south to follow W, and then it connects into what I call the Antelope Valley Trail Network there. So bottom line is the city's subdivision ordinance, which we're doing, does not allow the city to ask for that easement through us unless they're in a comprehensive plan. And that's a copy of the comprehensive plan and shows no connection to our property. So we have a legal, lawful basis and worked with Abby Luttrell. And they originally wanted staff and development services suggested we have that trail connection. And after communicating with Abby, the city struck that from their pre-services report, which is down here, because they didn't have the right authority to ask for that. So with that, that's the most important things to talk about. Lincoln Lumber is otherwise in full compliance with the conditions that are in front of you, and we do have the planning department's recommendation on everything, including the waivers. And with that, I'd be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for the applicant today? Yes.
How many units will this?
Okay, there's 2 buildings, 42 plex, so 84,
And how many bedrooms?
105. And all the ADA units are on the first floor.
That makes sense.
Other questions, commissioners?
Thank you.
Okay. At this time, we'll ask for testimony in support. Testimony in a neutral capacity?
You have
Oh,
a neutral person? Bob look like you.
Support.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry. I'm getting
no
up.
worries, no worries. And any other testimony in a neutral capacity or testimony in opposition?
I jumped the gun.
You're okay.
You knew
You're
it was
okay.
coming.
Hello, I'm Bob Reeves, live at 3236 Dudley Street, and I could either be neutral or opposed because I'm not opposed to the change of zone, and that's what's the main thing that's before you. I'm just representing myself. I'm a member of the Clinton Neighborhood Board, but we haven't had an opportunity to take a position on this because of the timing. But I'm not opposed to the change of zone from industrial to residential. We need more housing, and an apartment building is a really good use of this particular piece of property. What I am concerned about is the size of the project. Clinton's long been a neighborhood mainly of single family and duplexes. And in recent years, we've had some apartment buildings added, and they've not all had a positive effect on the neighborhood. 42 units times 2, that's a lot of people living in a small area. And I know this is considered the greater downtown area, but it's not right downtown. And everything around there is still mostly single family and duplex, except for right across the street on the north side of Y Street, we have a 36-plex built in there, and we do not think that was a good addition to the neighborhood. It has barely enough parking for the people that live there. It's caused more congestion in the area, and it's basically changed the character of what was once a block of single-family homes. And so I was really sorry to see what came out of that. This project that we're talking about won't displace any existing housing, so that's a good thing. The 36-plex one did. But I'd rather to see something like 2 12-plexes with a lot more green space, maybe some areas for a picnic area, playground for kids, and things like that. There's no room on this property for anything like that. I even can envision the trail being rerouted so it would meander through this property with the apartments on either side instead of having to go around the edge on a widened sidewalk the way it does now. My understanding is the reason the trail's the way it is that Lincoln Lumber didn't want to make any accommodations for the trail. I think the city's parking requirements for new apartment buildings are unrealistic. Because of their location, these apartments will generally attract students, a high turnover population, and young working people who don't intend to live here very long, and most of them will have one car per person. The assumption is that a large number of residents will use public transportation, but the fact is most students who live off campus have cars, and even if they do use the campus bus to get to class, they still have a car. You know, they need a car to get back to their hometown, if nothing else. So there are a lot of cars related to students. I also think that we have one-bedroom units, and you're assuming 1.3 parking spaces per unit. If it's a working couple, both of them will have a job. They both will have to have a car to get to work. I know there's a lot of public transportation, but it all goes downtown, and I think that there's no way you can avoid having lots of cars in this area. So I really think the 1.25 parking stalls per unit criterion is based on wishful thinking and doesn't correspond to reality. One little thing, I think with the gas prices going higher, we think people will quit driving, but electric cars are becoming more popular. I think we're just going to see a new type of car, but there would still be just as many cars as there ever were, especially in a town the size of Lincoln. Am I out of time? Okay. Well, the other thing I'd like to say is I don't believe our President Kelly Hazard is here, and she sent me an email raising a different question, which I think is important to bring up. This kind of took us by surprise, and often these things do take us by surprise because we don't usually know about the project until it already has gotten through the planning staff vetting process and the planning staff has already made their recommendation. Then we find out about it. And that's the way this was. Again, we would like to see planning staff go to neighborhoods for input and suggestions earlier in the process. I don't think it would be that hard to do, to set up a neighborhood meeting with the planning staff and the developers 2 or 3 weeks earlier, or maybe a month earlier, and not waiting till just the week before the meeting.
That's time.
The other thing, only other thing is that Ms. Hazard also said that we need to maybe go back and look at the whole comprehensive plan and consider how it relates to the impact of developments on the whole infrastructure and on the parking issue as well. So thank you very much.
Any questions for this person? Okay, thank you. Any other testimony in opposition?
Hello, my name is Mary Reeves, and I live at 3236 Dudley Street. I'm a longtime resident of Clinton neighborhood, and I'm not opposed to the zone change from industrial to residential. I think that's a good plan. My question is, I believe the developers have indicated that there'll be some accessible apartments. They're going to be on the first floor. But my question is, are they accessible to someone in a wheelchair? If you're in a wheelchair and there is a one step, you can't get in. You can't force a wheelchair over it. If you just have a handicap, walking or some other, then you don't have a problem. But if you have a wheelchair, this first floor is not going to be accessible to those people. And I also would like to see an elevator. And I know that you aren't required to have an elevator, but an elderly person or one with just even a mild handicap trying to carry your groceries up 2 flights of stairs to the 3rd floor is very difficult. And if you're carrying for more than one person, you know how heavy your groceries are if you carry them just from your car to the house. And I just think that elevators, even though they're not required, are very important if you want to have a possibility of people who are handicapped also living in this area. And that's all I have to say. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you. Any other testimony in opposition? Okay, staff questions?
Oh, maybe I don't have staff questions.
The only question then possibly is the elevator question. Has there been any conversation on requiring an elevator?
No, there wouldn't be beyond, and that'd be up to the developer property owner on the site, as we wouldn't require an elevator with zoning for multifamily.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you, Commissioner.
Just the planning staff is fine with removing the piece about the trails because of the lawsuit that was removed.
Correct, yeah, that, like Kent noted, with the pre-application language that
Yep.
was struck by our department.
Yep. Okay. Commissioners, any other questions? Thank you. Applicant rebuttal?
Just real quick, we're sensitive to ADA, and a third of the units, 28 total units will have full access. And as mentioned, the code does not require the elevator. And there will be some younger people in this complex, be it younger professors or students or grad students along the way. The second thing, just want to point out again, is we coulda, shoulda applied for B3, which has the 1.0 parking requirement. Your comprehensive plan, as you know very well, during the tenure has increased and wants to increase density and does not want to build the world around an automobile, and wants to be sure there's trails, which we have, wants to be sure there's walkability, which we have, and we have bus routes, which we have. And your goal, because housing's gotten so expensive, is to try to create that balance of proper density with cost of land. And land is not cheap, as you know firsthand. So with that, and with the staff, I think we could have gotten by with one stall per unit. We're doing 25% more than that. So I think that's another reason why we'd ask you to just approve what the staff is recommending to you. And with that, I'd be glad to answer any of your final questions.
Any questions for the applicant?
So when you say, oh, sorry.
You're fine.
Okay. When you say accessible units, you do mean zero entry.
Yes.
Just clarifying that. That's it.
Just the only other thing that was brought up was green space, and I understand we're talking about the zoning, but just, is there a thought about, I've been looking at some of the other new apartment buildings and the landscaping around them, and will there be some green space, trees, something, just, or is it parking, building?
There will obviously be parking requirements, require parking trees, and street trees are also required. We are not far from Trago Park, and I'll just say we wished every neighborhood had more park attributes. You can do it on site, but then you're not going to get the density goal, and the 25% fill, and so it's the infamous trade-offs. And like I said, right now I feel very good that we're in 100% compliance with the comprehensive plan. Now you have an update coming up. You might want to discuss those important things, but at least based on the plan we have today.
Yep. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Any others? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
May I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved. Edens?
Second, Rodenberg.
Ball,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Edens,
Yes.
Fight,
Yes.
Joy,
Yes.
Rodenberg.
Yes.
Ryman Yost.
Yes.
Public hearing closed.
I move approval of change of zone 22023A.
Second, Rodenberg.
I'm going to support this, but I absolutely agree with Mr. Reeves and that you're going to have a parking issue. This area already has a parking issue because of university students that park along the street to not pay for parking. On top of, you didn't put an elevator in the building, so you were really looking at putting young people, more than likely college students in there. That's what's going to fill this apartment complex, and they do. Every single one of them has a car. And to get those apartments down to an affordable rate for a college student, they put a lot of people in there. So this is going to create a parking issue, and we can't sugarcoat that. What's required and what's the right thing to do are two different questions, and because you're uniquely positioned between the two campuses, parking is continually an issue. I am disappointed to not hear that you met with any of the neighborhood organizations. This one kind of splits between Hartley and Clinton. I know we didn't hear about it at Clinton neighborhood. But I don't know about the Hartley area because it is split by the bike trail, or where the bike trail was originally is where the neighborhood dividing line is. So there you go. That's my gripe, although I'm supporting.
Yeah, I agree, Gloria. I mean, I acknowledge all of the great points made about density, about the fact that kind of our culture is to not use transportation, mobility, and that we all need our own car. So I completely understand. And I think as Mr. Seacrest said, we're going through another comprehensive plan and mobility plan. And so we are having those discussions with the planning department about how can we make mobility more of a culture shift in this city and use more bike trails, use more busing. But until then, parking is always going to be a problem.
Comments, commissioners? I agree with my fellow commissioners. These are always challenging times. I do appreciate that you went ahead and added the 25% parking to try to alleviate that with one stall per bedroom. So that was very nice to hear, and I will be supporting the project. Shelley?
Ball,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Edens,
Yes.
Fight,
Yes.
Joy,
Yes.
Rodenberg.
Yes.
Ryman Yost.
Yes.
Approved 7-0. Next item, item 4.2, special permit 25001A for the Battle Run Golf Course to amend special permit 25001 to allow access on South 112th Street, generally located at South 112th Street and A Street, and this is final action. Are there any ex parte communications to be disclosed on this item?
There are none?
Are there any ex parte communications that took place or additional information you learned while visiting this site to be disclosed?
There are none.
Good afternoon, George Wesselhoff, Planning and Development Services Department, 555 South 10th Street. So this special permit has a boundary that extends all the way from O Street down to A Street, and then bounded on the west by South 98th Street alignment and South 112th on the east. The area of amendment pertains to the southeast near the vicinity of South 112th and A Street. So this special permit was approved in 2025 by the Planning Commission and authorized the development of an 18-hole golf course with accessory uses, including but not limited to retail sales, restaurant, lounge, meeting party rooms, lodging facilities, and also allowing for the sale of alcohol for consumption on the premises. The proposed amendment pertains to a new access point on South 112th Street that would be located 1,035 feet north of A Street, which meets the separation requirement from A Street, which is 1,000 feet. Both the county engineer and Lincoln Transportation and Utilities Department did not have any concerns with this driveway location. South 112th Street is a county road at this location because the adjoining property is not yet in the city limits of Lincoln. Maintenance of the road and any new access permits are in the county engineer's jurisdiction. With this proposal, there was not any need for improvements identified by the county engineer, and so I can answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions, Commissioners? Yes, please.
We had someone, sorry, hold on. We had someone write to us about moving 112th Street up the priority list to make it paved rather than gravel. Was that in discussion with county engineer and transportation?
I think I will ask the county engineer representative to come forth.
He's so happy about it.
Good afternoon, John Berry, Lancaster County Engineering, 444 Cherry Creek Road. There has been some design work done on this project around 112th Street. It's an older design. It is not part of the 1 6-year plan at this point. The current traffic count is 320, which is pretty average for around here. If it does increase, it is something that we definitely would look at, and if we need to do something with it, then we'll do it at that time.
How do you know when it increases?
Basically, we do traffic counts.
Okay.
We put out, you see the little hoses out. We also do infrared ones. So we do traffic counts every year.
Okay, cool. My other question is on the map. It looks like they already have 2 driveways, maybe. Like from the maintenance facility, they have a driveway toward A Street, and this street is going to go from 112th and all the way through to A Street. Are there concerns about having both of those driveways on A Street? On a busy...
At this point, there isn't. You
Okay.
know, they are permitted. They did have a temporary drive one on 112th Street. They were using that during the construction phase of this. Dalton is here. He's our right-of-way manager. He could talk a little bit about that. But they're requesting a permanent driveway as part of this that will access their, I'm not sure if it's a clubhouse or whatever their facility will be there.
Those are my questions.
Any other? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Testimony from the applicant.
Hi there. My name is Aaron Bright. I'm with Olson at 600 P Street here in Lincoln. On behalf of the applicant and owner, I'll just kind of pull up that same map that George had earlier. It's showing. Oops. There we go. Probably not a whole lot additional to add. I think George and John kind of summed up a couple of the questions that I was going to mention. But again, this was in front of Planning Commission, was approved back in 2025 as the golf course use, as well as some incidental accessory uses to that golf course. Specifically, why this is coming up now is we didn't have the access shown over to 112th Street, kind of in that general clubhouse area when we got that original approval back in 2025. Since that time, there's been construction on the golf course for sure. The maintenance building is constructed. The majority of the golf holes have been constructed. And so kind of the next piece of this is specific to a building permit that's actually in right now. It's for what they're calling the starter house, which is kind of a scaled down version just to kind of handle there's some restrooms, facilities, kind of check in for any of the golf. That's kind of the starting point where you're going to play the golf from, as well as some kind of daily cart storage that's in that area. There is a parking lot associated with that starter house. Primarily the intent for this secondary access would be any service uses, trash, deliveries, that stuff would be coming in off 112th Street is the preferred location, kind of a more direct shot to the back of the starter house through the parking lot, as opposed to using the long winding 112th Street access, or sorry, the long winding drive from A Street. It was kind of also pointed out, but yes, we had met with both county and city once already, kind of got their feedback there. As you kind of heard, the location is favorable. There was one follow-up condition for us to provide a plan profile of the roadway just to measure site distances and provide that to the satisfaction of everybody. which will certainly provide that and kind of finalize the actual location once we go to construction drawings for this location. So happy to answer any questions anyone may have.
Commissioner.
What's the hope for the number of stalls when it's all done in that parking lot that's kind of shown?
Good question. I'm trying to go off memory on what the permit drawings already had. It's probably in the neighborhood of 25 to 35 stalls right now. I don't know the exact number, but it's in that range to support that.
And you mentioned the like garbage and all them. Is your plan for them to turn around or enter through there and then exit onto A Street?
They should be able to turn around on site and
Oh,
then
nice.
exit back to 112th Street as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
At this time, we'll entertain any testimony in support. Any testimony in a neutral position? Any testimony in opposition? Okay. Any staff questions? Okay. Applicant rebuttal? No?
I move we close the public hearing.
Second, Rodenberg.
Ball,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Edens,
Yes.
Fight,
Yes.
Rodenberg,
Yes.
Ryman Yost,
Yes.
Joy.
Yes.
Public hearing closed.
I move we approve special permit 25001A.
Second, Rodenberg.
Any discussion? Seeing none, let's go ahead and call the vote.
Ball,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Edens,
Yes.
Fight,
Yes.
Rodenberg,
Yes.
Ryman Yost,
Yes.
Joy.
Yes.
Approved 7-0. Next item, item 4.3A, change of zone 26009 for Azalea Land from R1 residential to R3 residential, generally located at South 36th Street and Prescott Avenue, associated with 4.3B, special permit 26024 for Azalea Land, community unit plan, associated with change of zone 26009 to allow a community unit plan generally located at South 36th Street and Prescott Avenue, and this is final action. Are there any ex parte communications to be disclosed on these items?
There are not.
Are there any ex parte communications that took place or additional information you learned while visiting this site to be disclosed?
There are none.
Ben Callahan with Planning and Development Services, 555 South 10th Street. As Shelley noted, this is a combined application for both the change of zone and then the special permit for the community unit plan. So located along Prescott, east of South 36th Street, which is historically the old Azalea Land greenhouse, and noted in the staff report, and that operated there from, I believe, 1940s to early 2000s. So this site, once that closed, has been sitting vacant. I know there was some attempt over time to remove structures and clean the site up. And then today has just been existing as R1, surrounded by single-family residential. So the applicant, NeighborWorks Lincoln, purchased the property and is looking at doing the community unit plan shown here. And what they'd be doing is community unit plan for up to 20 units, and to get that density is what they're requesting with the R3 zoning, because that would allow, I believe, 6.96 dwellings per acre. So in this layout, they're showing what would be 2 single-family homes along Prescott, and then they'll have 2 access points into the site, which will circle around, and then they'll have basically 2 family homes on the west, each on their own lot, and then a townhome layout along the east. Overall, the site is shown in the comprehensive plan for future urban residential, which is still consistent with the single-family nature of this neighborhood. There's R2 to the northeast, and then mainly R1 around. The one that we've worked with on this site the last few years, and that's part of the flexibility on the change of zone and the CUP, is it's definitely encouraging the comp plan to get an infill project in residential, but kind of a unique site to work with where it's strictly internal to the block that it's on. And then with that, the CUP would be noting the 5 waivers that were submitted, and mainly they all relate to kind of your standard infill for townhome or single family, but reducing the lot width and size as they'll have smaller lots in general, and then reducing the front yard setback from 10 to 5 feet and the rear yard setback. Much of this was supported as it's all kind of an internal development, and then they will have a joint, or I should say common outlot in the middle, which would serve as the green space. So the houses are going to be closer on the rear yard, and that also created some additional distance with the roadway for the existing residential units. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
So this one has a waiver to reduce the size of the roads. That loop has
Gonna ask the same question.
LFR, Lincoln Fire Rescue Emergency Personnel, like they're okay that because of it being able to go around, but we're okay with LFR. That was my question.
Correct. Yeah, this will be set up as a private roadway internally, and then the 22 feet is what LFR, so they require that to remain open for the width of the road, and it will be put into an outlot that they'll maintain the roadway.
Okay.
A follow-up to that, Gloria, help me understand, is that wide enough that people could park on the street or not?
They could, so they are showing this as a one-way direction around the site.
It's one way, okay, okay.
Is how it's labeled there. And then for parking, so they didn't request any waiver to reduce parking.
Right.
So there would be, we noted on a condition of approval, so they'll have, many of these have the 2-car garage, and then would also have at least 22 feet from the front of the garage to the sidewalk for parking on the driveway. So they'll meet. So yeah, they could tandem park, but many would have 4. And then as noted in the report too, they would require how the zoning code is set up for single or 2 family homes. When you have a reduced lot width, they have to require guest parking. It's 1 space for every 2 units. So the ones on the west would require some guest parking to be shown. And there was 1 sheet which showed some guest parking here. So whether they can provide it on the ends,
Gotcha.
or you can have street parking if there's 22 feet that's uninterrupted.
Gotcha. What are you gonna ask?
Okay. Commissioner.
The detention area, is that going to be standing water, or how, can you explain a little bit more about that?
That might be a good question for the applicant on how they're setting that up, but we did have the grading and drainage go through our watershed management department as well for review.
We'll save that question. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks.
Testimony from the applicant.
I'll go first. Charles Weshy, CEO of NeighborWorks Lincoln, 2530 Q Street. Want to take you back in time a little bit because we found some cool pictures, and I don't know if I know how to adjust.
That's
this.
fine. You just have to wait.
That's fun.
It'll-
There you go.
Oh, cool.
So that's the original Azalea land that Mr. Callahan was referring to. Way back when, I've talked to people that remember getting their corsages from Azalea land, so it's fun. Obviously, it looks nothing like this now. Everything's gone. It's just an empty field, and there are a whole lot of foxes, I hear, that like to roam around. So one of the pieces that we got feedback on from our community meeting was, what are you going to do about the foxes? I have drawings of little fox houses that a little girl drew. Said, Mr. Charlie, please make a fox house. I think the foxes will be fine. I do want to highlight just a couple things. Ben did a great job explaining the project. NeighborWorks Lincoln is an affordable housing developer. Long-standing, we're celebrating our 40th year in existence, providing opportunities for low to moderate income first-time homeowners. I did want to mention, and I put together, I kind of have a canned presentation. This is a slide about Azalea Land, some of the engagement that we have done. We've done multiple neighborhood meetings. We had a resident advisory board that was empowered to actually help make decisions about the project, which is part of where the multiple inlet, like the entrances came in. That was not part of, and previous owner's plan. So we have an entrance onto Prescott and then one to the south on South 37th, Lowell, whatever that street is. That was a resident advisory board piece of feedback, as was making the shift from an internal drive system, which really was going to focus cars, to the external drive, which really created an opportunity for us to have this shared green space that I like to refer to as the biggest front yard in all of Lincoln. That may or may not be factual, but it works. To the question about stormwater detention, it is not going to be standing water. I have my design team here, so engineer, project engineer, and project architect, they can explain this better. But it's not standing water, it's just temporary holdback during a big storm event. That water will subside, and essentially 95% of the time, this is just green space that kids can use to play soccer. We can do some natural landscaping. There's still some options that we have that we're still working out. But at the end of the day, this is 18 affordable units. The 2 units that are on the north, so kind of, let me see, my art's more colorful than what Ben had. So these 2 units, oh, it's backwards. Those 2 units right there, we're looking at likely selling those lots, and they'll be market rate builds. So really it's the internal portion of the project that NeighborWorks is most interested in, and that's 18 units. Happy to answer any questions, or I can come back at the end.
Just curiosity.
Yep.
So, like, say for the townhouse section, what does affordable mean? Like, what would be what's the price point?
So that's going to be dependent on the funding source. So if we're talking under 80% first-time buyers, what we need to be at a price point of about, if these are 3-bedroom, about $210 or less. If we're able to secure funding that goes up to 120%, which is the ideal, which is kind of the original project design, then we're looking at sales in the 250 to 275 range. Unfortunately, the state of Nebraska is a little bit behind in their Nebraska Affordable Housing Trust Fund allocation. So that was what we had earmarked as kind of the funding source to help pull this off. So we're patiently waiting for that to come through.
Yeah, and the only reason I was asking is because I was so excited when we approved the project at 46 and Pioneers, and so some of those are also market rate, and then I saw what the market rate was, and I was like, what? Yeah, it is. It's expensive. I mean, construction is expensive. So I was just curious. So,
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, good question. Thank you.
Okay.
And these will all be owner occupied?
All owner occupied, and so the townhomes on the west side will all be 0 entry off the back. I got you, Gloria. And we love parking. We have 4 parking spaces. So anything else I can answer?
Lovely to hear you have a residential advisory board. Will they be part of the process, even continuing forward with kind of designing that center common space?
Absolutely.
Cool.
That's been identified as kind of a low-hanging fruit of how we can, I mean, I think it's the resident advisory board, but it's also there will be ultimately an HOA that will likely play a part in that.
Cool.
I have a, where is it? So kind of a concept image that we're working off of to kind of highlight this internal, pocket neighborhood approach. This is obviously not what the project will look like, but it's the same intention where you have that shared green space. Anywhere from Adirondack chairs with a patio to a fire pit to a gazebo. I mean, the options are endless. So
I'll put a shameless plug in plants, native plants.
I love that idea. Yeah. Anything else?
Anything else, commissioners? Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Okay, at this time, we will entertain testimony in support.
Good afternoon. My name is Justin Insinger, Insinger Engineering, 2164 County Road I, Western Nebraska. Here as the engineer on behalf of the applicant. Excited for the project. Just to note, in addition, We're still working on stormwater drainage. That detention will not be planned to hold water other than what's required in the 24-hour storm event, holding back for 24 hours and releasing. So ultimately, trying to design it around being in between units makes it so that we need to make it a dry basin in that sense. So that's the plan for that. I'm here to answer any other questions.
Yeah. And follow up, can that be are you hoping it still be like a usable space, or could it be like a rain garden kind of design?
So I think that the plan from when discussing with the applicant is there is going to be some landscaping around it. But yeah, having it gradual sloping to the south to where it outlets will be the plan, and gradual enough to where it's not, a steep drop off to where it's usable. I mean, that was kind of we've looked at multiple different options, and we'll still continue to look at the options as we further the design.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other testimony in support? Testimony in a neutral position?
My name's Jim Morrell, 3909 37th Street. I'm a professional engineer who recently moved to Lincoln last month from Kansas City.
Welcome.
And in talking with my neighbors, they made me aware of the azalea land. So being here is kind of self-serving. I'm trying to quickly get up to speed. This process has started with NeighborWorks probably about a year ago, I think, with the neighbor advisory boards, et cetera. So I'm just trying to get up to speed with what the commission is doing overall. And also, I've been a professional engineer since '83. So, and in the last 20 years, I'd say half of my work has been with affordable housing groups. First community housing, Catholic charities, et cetera, not as a main driver like I'm doing now, but just as a mechanical and architectural engineer. And in terms of what I'm doing now, I guess I'm a homeowner who bought the house right here. So I'm almost across the street from Azalea Land overall. And it's such an incredible neighborhood. I'm probably the average age, or maybe a little bit younger than the people in my house, my area. Next door neighbor has lived there all of his life. He planted a tree there, and now it's 100 feet tall. Very interesting neighborhood. Another neighbor has lived there since '74. That's when I graduated college overall. So again, it's self-serving, and I have the neighbors, as I talk to them, they look to me and the advisory board and et cetera in terms of what all this means. Specifically, what does it look like? I can look at the plan, and of course you can look at the plans, and it's with 1,000 words. You know exactly what it means overall. But they need a picture in terms of what these two houses will look like, what this will look at, what the heck is a detention pond overall, that type of thing. So that's where I'm trying to get into play, not as a professional engineer, but just as a neighbor. It's quite a unique area in terms of the trees, is my first thing. There's probably 100-foot tall pines in that entire area, my yard, and throughout this entire area. Is there any planning commission or requirement to preserve trees? There are several areas of unique trees in this area that could stay overall. So that's one of my first comments overall. Is really architecturally significant buildings directly across the street. Probably the house has a 50 to 75-foot setback, really a jewel of a building. There's houses over here that was designed by Burkett Graft, the Lincoln architect, back in the 60s. And it's like, wow, this is quite a neighborhood of unique housing. So I see this as a unique project overall. That said, I'm only in it not as a professional engineer, but as a neighbor. I hope to get onto the advisory board so I can interpret this gobbledygook to actually pictures overall. And also the opportunity to meet with the NeighborWorks people, the Pierce Peace Studio Architects overall. If I see their face, it's so easy to communicate with them, email, etc. overall. One comment I have concerning that pesky detention thing, it is pretty much a swimming pool in the ground. That's dry most of the time. But it'll be, according to the plans, it'll be about 4 feet deep. So that's about this countertop. So it will come and go 4 feet deep to the ground overall. You can call that usable, but typically it's not on other projects I've done. Anything of more than 3 feet, you want a guardrail so kids don't fall in or something like that overall. In terms of calling it usable, yes. But wouldn't it be nice, if that disappeared? And that was just flat land, and all these houses, the townhouses, had backyards. As I look at it, and again, I'm in the mind of making it better. So when I say, are you for or against, I'm sort of on the fence. I am for overall. There are ways of dealing with it. This is the most cost-effective way of doing the pond overall. And it's done on 1,000 projects. The first project you looked at, that's exactly what it was, a shallow pond off near the parking lot. This one is so unique, maybe it can be forced underground, and that could be, these guys could all have backyards. So my question to the Planning Commission, are backyards or some sort of yard space part of the Planning Commission requirements? And is this an exemption? Just for my own knowledge. But if we went underground with this, this is the most cost-effective way to go. Spent more money. I could feel it behind me, right? I could feel it.
That's
Overall,
fine.
all of a sudden, they have yards. And it's like, wow, but my kids don't have to play in the street because there are literally no yards overall. And even in terms of the retention, there's an area down here going to Lowell, which is pretty much the driveway, and then a grass area. Maybe that could be utilized for whatever depth, make a 6-foot, whatever depth retention pond, and it would have no impact overall. And again, I'm not calculating, I'm guessing. I defer to Justin 1,000%. I'm the new guy on the block who has a cold overall.
And we have a 5-minute limit on testimony, so.
And I will stop in,
Excellent. No
stop in just a
worries.
second.
We
And the
will.
last item is in terms of security. These buildings back here, they don't have line of sight. It's really a unique site overall, and I'm a little bit concerned about security back here. People walking home, girls, daughters walking home at night overall. Peace Architects originally had an access here, which got few view of everything. If we turn this 90 degrees, problem solved. But anyway, that's something I'll work with the architect. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Any other testimony in a neutral position? Testimony in opposition? Staff questions? Anyone? Do we have any? No staff questions or those
Application probably.
Nothing for Benjamin?
I don't think so, Ben.
Okay, thanks, Ben. Applicant rebuttal, though? We do have a couple of questions, please. Commissioner wants to.
Go ahead, Gloria.
Gloria?
Trees.
Oh,
Nothing
trees?
to say.
I mean, part of our approach would be to do a tree by tree assessment. A lot of the trees that are in there are kind of volunteer. They've been problematic from I get calls from people because they're falling down or limbs are falling. So I mean, we'll do a tree by tree assessment, and if we can keep it and it's part of it, we will. I'm not against removing trees if we don't have to. About the underground detention, my new friend Jim, who is going to be on the resident advisory board, and Peace Studios is about 4 rows behind you. So if you want to talk to them, you can. Jim, Give to Lincoln Day is coming up, so if you wanted to fund underground storage, you could make a sizable donation to NeighborWorks Lincoln, and we will do underground detention.
Selfless plug right there.
For that, I will take PayPal, Venmo, whatever. Underground detention is incredibly expensive. And when we're weighing, I mean, Mr. Seacrest said this earlier, you're weighing, I mean, we don't get to do the project that is 100% what we want it to be. We have to be okay with trade-offs. And if we're doing underground detention, that has implications on the most important goal of this, which is providing housing opportunities, homeownership opportunities for first-time home buyers. I second everything Jim said about the greatness of the neighborhood. I have friends that live in that neighborhood. My wife and I have real estate alerts for any property that is for sale in that neighborhood. We want to live in that neighborhood because it is a tremendous neighborhood, and we want our first-time buyers to be able to be part of that. Period. So I think, I mean, yes, there are trade-offs to any project of any project really, but I mean, particularly at this scale. And I think Gil came up, so he might have something to say too. Thank you. Were there any other questions for me?
Yes, Commissioner?
So, not too sure where he's from. Sounds like East Coast somewhere, but the security aspect of it, it seems like just given the transportation around the neighborhood.
I honestly had never thought about that. I'm wondering if that's what Gil is going to come up and talk about. I think to help understand, I mean, there was reference to backyards. These houses are fronting, so the front porch is fronting onto the green space. So that's the orientation. So the back is really, it's drives, it's parking, it's garage. We will definitely consider that. It's never been, security was not something that we had seen as an issue.
Would we like to have?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think you'd answer the other question of like the architecture of the homes kind of fitting in with the neighborhood and stuff like that, the characteristics.
I'll try to keep it brief. I'm Gil with P. Studio Architects. I don't think there's a site plan up here, but that's okay. I think I can make this relatively short. We're also very excited to be a part of this project. These types of infill projects, especially on this unique piece of land, is really exciting for us. The
microphone up just a
little bit closer. Okay. The time during Charlie's presentation, I kept in the back of my mind saying, "Show the picture of the front porch," and then he finally did. So he was holding that in reserve, and I think that really sums up the idea here is that we have front porches, active front porches facing active front porches across the green space, and the kids are going to be playing. If we can talk Charlie into it, we'll do a great gazebo or something for the neighbors to gather at. And just to reiterate, looking at the underground detention, Charlie does have cost estimating to get the infrastructure. Those cost estimates came in. It was a really big hit to go with the underground detention, so I just want to reiterate that. The infrastructure was already a little bit over budget, and as is in terms of the plan that you're looking at today. I will give you a couple updates, and one is our office is currently working on developing the plans, the design models, the materials, but at the same time we're trying to right pace that work so that Charlie and the NeighborWorks outlay of costs for that design work doesn't double up with the engineering. So we know that there are negotiations with the city in the near future where we will have those images. And if you'd like, we can update this team as well. I will give you the basic DNA of a couple of the projects, and you can you're already familiar with them or you're not, and you can go look at them. So the townhouses, the accessible townhouses on the west side, their DNA is basically comparable to what's Cooper Commons. And if you're not familiar with that, that's a NeighborWorks project from a handful of years ago that are sort of the bungalow-sized, sort of 1 to 3 bedroom that have it's about the front porch. In fact, a lot of the design on this project isn't necessarily about the individual units, although of course that's very important. It's about the negative space. It's about the green space in the center. So if you're familiar with those, great. If not, take a look at them. That's the basic DNA for the townhouses. And then for the row houses, our office has been involved in quite a few over the years, starting with some great ones at Village Gardens and some additional out at Fallbrook. And I don't know if it's been brought up at all, but if you look at the footprint of those, and this is something that we're very excited about, each one of those row houses, I think they're in groups of 5, have their own internal courtyard. And we've had a bunch of people look at the plans and say, I don't understand what that means. But when you go to visit them in person, a central outdoor space that only your unit has views to, it's such a great space. And people can use them from very low intensity, and they can have some plants out there, to outdoor living, cooking, hot tub, the whole thing. So each one of those units will have one of those outdoor courtyards. That's on the east side of the site. And with that, I said I'd keep it brief, so I'll stop there for questions.
Bill, can we just have your address for the record,
Sure,
please?
1835 Kings Highway.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I move to close the public hearing.
Second, Rodenberg?
Ball?
Yes.
Cruz?
Yes.
Edens?
Yes.
Fight?
Yes.
Rodenberg?
Yes.
Ryman Yost?
Yes.
Joy?
Yes.
Public hearing closed.
I move to approve special permit 26024.
Second, Rodenberg?
Ooh,
Yeah,
I did that out
change
of
of
order,
zone.
but are we going to talk about both at the same time?
Yes, please.
Then I move to, can I do them separate?
You have to do them separate, so start
Yeah.
with the first one if you don't mind.
Sorry, change of zone 26009, I move approval of.
Second, Rodenberg?
But we'll talk about both of them if everyone's okay with that. Okay, perfect.
Apologize, we're missing our normal person here, so I'm in training.
You're doing great. I think you're doing fantastic. Who would like to be the first to speak, please? Commissioner
I'll
Gloria?
talk. I love this project. I love most Neighborhood Works projects. And I think this is a perfect infill project. Love to see more of it. I wish some of the developers that were here earlier were still here so we could take our nice soft stick and hit them about community engagement on new projects and answering those questions and concerns when you're doing an infill project, because it does make a huge difference and it's so important. So it has my support.
Excellent. Commissioner Romberg?
Yeah, I'll second that. NeighborWorks is a tremendous organization, and they've grown, and I've been happy to work with them on some of their other projects, and I can't think of a better person to head off this project, so I'll be in favor of it, yes.
Commissioner Ball?
I will, excuse me, I too will be approving this. And isn't it great not to worry about safety here? I don't think we've heard that too many times,
Right.
At least in my role. So that's
It's
really
not in
great.
my neighborhood.
Well, we haven't heard it. So, I think that's the wonderful thing.
Yeah,
of
it is.
Lincoln.
Lincoln does it
But
badly.
in regards to the project, I will agree that NeighborWorks has been doing great things, and I appreciate the concept here. I think it fits a number of the pieces we've been trying to see happen within projects that is fitting here. And when I went to the website and saw that center patio concept, that is nice. Love it. You should go to the website
Yeah,
and
it's
see
nice.
it. It's
Yeah.
a nice, a space for the people to use. Equally, just the, I think, price point for a wonderful neighborhood is great. So I appreciate it, and I will be approving it as well.
I agree with my fellow commissioners on a lot of the points made, and I also will be supporting this. Shelley?
Ball?
Yes.
Cruz?
Yes.
Edens?
Yes.
Fight?
Yes.
Rodenberg?
Yes.
Ryman Yost?
Yes.
Joy?
Yes.
Approved 7-0.
Thank you.
I will now motion to approve special permit 26024.
Second, Rodenberg?
Shelley?
Ball?
Yes.
Cruz?
Yes.
Edens?
Yes.
Fight?
Yes.
Rodenberg?
Yes.
Ryman Yost?
Yes.
Joy?
Yes.
Approved 7-0.
Thank you.
Next item is item 4.4, change of zone 26007 for the corner stores local landmark district in multiple locations in Lincoln. Are there any ex parte communication to be disclosed on this item?
Yes.
Yeah, so one of these is in Clinton neighborhood, so that came up at our Clinton neighborhood meeting. The other one is, one of them is also owned by NeighborWorks, which is 2 houses away from my parents' property. So there's been conversations off and on about that. Nobody really disagreed with it. So there you go.
Okay.
Are there any ex parte communications that took place or additional information you learned while visiting these sites to be disclosed?
No. Okay. You're on.
Hello. This needs to be closer to my face. Sorry. I'm Jill Dahlberg. I'm the Historic Preservation Planner in Planning and Development Services. And here, 555 South 10th. I want to give you a little bit of information about where this project came from, because we've been working on it for a long time, before I ever joined the city. You know how things kind of come around all at once, over and over? We started getting a lot of calls about people who had these corner stores, and either the zoning was such that they couldn't use them very easily, or there were requirements that they couldn't fulfill, and they needed help figuring out how to navigate that. And we decided that perhaps the easiest way in each case was to landmark them and give them special permits for historic preservation. But then we had so many that we thought, well, let's just do them as many as we can. So it ended up being a group thing because there's a very common story. So I'm incapable of telling stories without photos. So you'll have to watch my slideshow, which I could have started. Before we start, I kind of feel like I need to give you the state of groceries in early Lincoln before we do corner stores. So in 1885, this is an early bird's eye map where I just drew a lot of little dots where the city directories told me that groceries were. And you'll notice they're very much all along O Street and a little bit at P and 10th and 9th. And so they're very much in a core. Lincoln was growing, but hadn't spread incredibly broadly yet. But they were pretty tightly into the city center. And so they tended to look a lot like this. This was the John Fitzgerald block in 1889. There was no one-stop grocery store, of course. You would get your dry goods somewhere and your meats from the butcher and canned goods somewhere else, and hopefully there was a green grocers. They operated on a system of credit in those early days. People didn't necessarily get a regular paycheck, and so you would extend them some credit so that they could eat in the meantime, and then they would catch up when they did get paid. Didn't always work out well, so that meant prices sometimes were higher in order to accommodate unpaid grocery bills. But delivery was crucial because transportation was by foot, or maybe you had a horse and maybe you were lucky and had a wagon, but luckily the stores typically would do delivery. So once you got inside the stores, they were all kind of like a Little House on the Prairie, full service. Tell me what you want, I'll box it up for you, I'll deliver it if you want, that kind of thing. But that meant that you had to wait on a clerk to be ready to help you. And clerks could upsell you items without really telling you. You might get the expensive peas. And eventually, customers could call in by phone, which happened much earlier than I ever would have dreamed. And then things could be delivered by horse and cart or later trucks. But then you had even less choice because you have no idea what's going in your basket. So those kinds of things.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. I've become kind of fascinated by groceries. It's a little bit weird. Okay, that first map, if you remember, was 1885. This is just 4 years later. We started out with 50 grocers in Lincoln, and now we've grown to 78, but our population has more than doubled. And you can see we're really spreading out. So we're starting to get those subdivisions. And you'll notice, I hope you can see the little dots. You know, the map got bigger, the dots got smaller. Spreading out into the area just south of the Capitol. We've got some that are developing in the north bottoms and the south bottoms. Some of them are off the map because the map didn't go far enough. So they're really spreading out. And what we find is, well, let me get to the next slide. What I started looking for in a corner store was a building that started out being independently owned, you know, built by a grocer, more than likely. It was associated with some kind of a residence. If it's brick, it's usually 2 stories, and then there's an apartment up top. If it's frame, then it's usually built on the lot next to the grocer's house. Sometimes the same lot, sometimes the adjacent lot. And then those are typically 1-story frame, but might have a false front, which is just so kind of Buckaroo revival to me. I love that. Over time, they may become part of a chain grocery store because they changed ownership a lot. And the ranges of dates of construction that I chose were from about 1900 to 1940. So as we're moving towards this spread out Lincoln, we're finding that part of what is spreading us out is that we've got transportation is certainly spreading us out. We've got streetcars that are heading out to the neighborhoods, and they're being sponsored by realtors and by developers. And then they're creating little business nodes wherever they stopped so that you can get some groceries on the way, you know, just after you got off of the streetcar. They're also starting to change how they sell groceries. They've realized maybe that old-fashioned way isn't working. And so they start promoting that it's a little more self-service. They give you a basket, you fill your basket, and then you go through the turnstile and you pay your money. But particularly you're paying cash because that helps them keep their overhead low. There aren't people helping you. That also helps lower overhead. So there's fewer staff, no delivery for the most part. Sometimes you could get delivery for 5 cents. So it's the method in getting groceries to people changes. It's not universal because, of course, somebody's always going to pay for a little extra service, but somewhat true. So I'd skipped ahead to streetcars, but here's kind of an example of you've got a grocery right on the corner. This is, I think, 17th and South or something like that. This is the standard grocery. Not just your regular, just standard. So, you know, they were able to sell maybe not everything that they had downtown, but lots of options. And they didn't always just sell groceries. Sometimes you're getting your coal there, or you might buy some small hardware items, or sometimes even gasoline. There was a short period when gas pumps were right by the store, which is kind of terrifying. They didn't last long, I think, for obvious reasons. But then, of course, as everyone starts getting automobiles, which also happens a lot earlier than we think it does, they can spread out a little further. They don't have to be in those streetcar nodes anymore, and so they separate a little bit further even. So what are the things that start reining them in? At one point, I want to tell you that in 1928, I think there were 268 grocery stores in Lincoln, which is a huge number. That's the high point of grocery stores. They weren't all big, but they didn't really have to be. But interestingly enough, zoning is what kind of starts to do them in. It sets up the difficulties for them that come. We start considering zoning in 1921. We worked with a group out of New York who recommended residential should be residential, commercial should be commercial, and never the twain shall meet. And so these stores found themselves in a position of being kind of non-conforming. If they wanted to make any changes to their building, they could apply for a building permit, but they might not get it. And so as these things either needed more repair, or as maybe family members don't really want to go into the grocery business, they start to close down. That said, a lot of them lasted until the 70s, 60s and 70s. So they're not, they didn't die immediately. It just set up conditions to make it difficult. So I've chosen 14 properties. 14 only because that's the number of property owners who got back to me. I would love to add more. This is a little different in that it's a thematic district. We've brought you before landmark districts that are by geography. So it's bounded by, in a rectangle in some way. This is a little different because it's a thematic one. And so we're really picking out types of properties from all over town and doing them in a big group. So we have 4 that were previously landmarked individually, but I just wanted to hearken to them since they're already landmarked. And then we had 10 more. We had a number of them that have that false front appearance that I kind of love. And then some brick ones as well. Lots of variation kind of throughout town and how they've changed over the years. I can't not tell a couple of stories. So here's a couple. This was a grocery store that was started by W.H. Dalton. He moved into a house at 1933 Wood, which turned into Garfield in 1896, I think, or 4. And he ran a grocery out of it. By 1904, he has purchased a lot just a half a block away, which ends up being where this grocery store is. And first he builds a house in 1905, and then he builds the grocery store just behind it in 1906. And it operated for a really long time, 40 years clearly, at least. And that was before W.H. Dalton retired. His son took over the business as well. This is one of the ones that had a gas pump just outside. They were proud to sell Skelly. So lots of great stories. It's currently being rehabilitated. You can tell it has a fresh coat of paint, and it is the home to a cat groomers. So if you have cats that need some loving, that's a good place to go.
Perfect. There you go.
This is another one that I've kind of fallen in love with. It is it's at 2001 J Street. I've met the descendant of Nathan Dorbin, and he shared these historic photos with me. Wow. Nathan Dorbin initially started out at 1941 K Street, had a little run-in with the police because he was displaying string beans out in the open, and that wasn't okay. He was arrested. So he thought, well, I'm going to move around the corner. He moved here in 1914 and then ran into trouble because he was robbed. And although they caught the 4 people that did it, they were all exonerated for some reason. And he decided maybe Lincoln wasn't for him after that. It's kind of a tragic story. But great photos of the store. And I guess that's something. It was then a basket store for a few years and changed hands a couple of times. But it ended up in the hands of Bernard Straka. He got the property in 1923. The Strakas had other groceries around town. And he operated it until his death in 1965. And then I don't know if it was a nephew or a brother that ran it until 1971. So it had a long longevity. He also, 5 teenage boys, and by that I mean like 12 and 13-year-olds, came in one day with a rifle, and we're going to hold him up at 6:15 in the morning, and he was 86 years old, and he just grabbed it and said, "Go sit on the curb," while I call the police. He's just spunky. I love a good spunky old guy story. So I hope that you will consider recommending approval to the City Council for the Historic District, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
So with this designation, does this allow people to make changes to the building, or are they required to maintain the architecture?
We will review them much like we do any other landmark. We're going to be very interested in the exterior of the building. As you might see with this one, a lot has happened to it.
Yeah.
And so we're going to allow change. I'd love to see big storefront windows go back in some of these buildings. We don't require anything to happen, but if they want to do work on it, then it'll be reviewed by HPC. But what this will also help with are those special permits that people need for changes in use or parking waivers or whatever may come up. So I think it'll be very helpful. But also we're here to help navigate this kind of alterations story with them, help them figure out the best way to retain what is still there that's historic, but also a lot of them have changed so very much that there probably won't be, I don't think it'll be arduous to maintain the things that are still there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had a letter about concerns about vape shops moving into these in the middle of a residential area. Can you speak to that? How does this work? And are we going to have booze being sold next door?
Well, I think that one was in relation to the special permit that's going to come next. So what I would say is anytime somebody wants a special permit for any of these properties, the Planning and Development Services is going to think carefully about all of the potential uses and the limitations of the site. Some of these buildings are very small. They have no parking or not much. I think we'll help them navigate that as well. But part of our process, which is a new process, so we've been going to the neighborhood association meetings to talk to neighbors, mostly about this one that's coming up. So I've been to the Near South meeting 2 months in a row. And yeah, I think we navigate it as we do any kind of a special permit that comes up or a request for an alteration.
So just because they have this blanket historic district, I think is why I wanted it answered under this, is we put this blanket historic district on these. They still have to go through another process in order to put a vape shop in that historic district building.
Absolutely. All this says is that it's historic. It might make them eligible for some state tax credit for rehabilitation that are available through the State Historic Preservation Office. But really, it's an honorary thing, and we get to tell you a little bit what to do with the outside. So if they have issues where they need to deal with a special permit, that's where more conversation will occur.
If they are deemed historic, is there any sort of impetus or incentive to refurbish them and bring them back, restore them? So the Straka is a perfect example. Based on historic pictures that exist, would there be an incentive or a push for them to restore and refurbish it back to its original beauty rather than, covering it all up with wood?
Right. I think, well, any property owner that I talk to, I usually tell them about the tax credits that are available, hopefully will remain available through the state. And it depends on what they're up for. We can't tell them that they have to do anything on the interior, but be more than happy to help them navigate making decisions about the interior if they want our input. So we always recommend working with a design professional and using historic photographs if they're going to try to replicate something that may or may not have been there. It's nice to be able to prove it with historic photos.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, so you are the applicant, so we can move on. Testimony and support, please. Testimony in a neutral position? Oh. Support? Yes. Come on up.
I was trying to find an email, and I'll
worries.
explain. Charles Wesche, CEO, NeighborWorks Lincoln, 2530 Q Street. Yes, me again. We have two properties that are actually part of this, 2406 J Street and 648 North 31st Street, that are owned currently by NeighborWorks Lincoln. 24th and J is a mixed-use building. It's the old Antelope Grocery that has commercial on the main floor and then 6 residential units on the second floor. 648 North 31st is the old Pete's IGA store, and I was trying to find an email. Tom Cassidy sent me an email. He worked at Pete's IGA. It's where he met his wife, who his wife's father was the owner, and he had sent me historic pictures. It's really cool. I'll be very honest. When this started, we were a little apprehensive. It's like you start talking historics, and are you adding another layer of difficulty to make renovation, use more difficult? And I think the planning staff, Ms. Dolberg in particular, has been very generous walking us through that. We're very comfortable with the fact that, yes, the exterior does need to go through HPC or an administrative review. We would absolutely, any scope that we take on, will try to be as period correct as possible. I think the strength of this designation comes on the special permit side. You have these buildings that are scattered throughout Lincoln's existing neighborhoods, and they just hold so much potential for community benefit. And that's where our approach, my staff likes to give me a hard time that I have a thing for old grocery stores, which I kind of do because they're really cool buildings. But there's no intention of taking them back to being grocery stores, but how can they serve the communities? And a lot of these are in neighborhoods that NeighborWorks has been involved in for 40 years. So how do we start to draw the housing with some of these community benefit within these historic buildings? It's why I'm here. It's why I am fully supportive of this designation. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Sports? Yes, please. Thank you.
I don't do this usually without something written, and I saw this on a television live broadcast, so I drove here.
Oh, my.
But I don't think I can comment because I'm not a Lancaster or Lincoln resident.
Oh, yeah. I think you can, but give us your name and address, please.
Anne, A-N-N-E, DeVries. I live near Cortland, but I did live in their South neighborhood, and it's kind of dear to my heart. My parents owned property there, and I have a very fond memory of.
Your Cortland address, please.
Oh, you need the exact?
Yeah,
684.
we do. Sorry.
People are going to look me up and stalk me.
We're not. We just have rules.
684 East Aspen Road.
Thank you.
So at 1846 Euclid is where I lived, and I walked all the way to where B&R is at 4 and 5 years old, literally on our own, with the dimes that we had collected from our lemonade stand and could buy candy. So having these old buildings is really kind of dear to my heart, and I just totally support everything that they've said. So I just wanted to comment.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Taking the time to come here.
Wow.
Any other testimony in support? That was awesome. Testimony in a neutral position.
Hello, my name is Tony Anaya, 435 F Street. If you're familiar, I wanted Ashley to provide commentary. I'm on the fence, neutral, but also kind of, I'm in support, but I'm also against. I wanted to actually specifically make a commentary on 441 F Street, which was not included in any of the photo arrays that were given. I've lived next door to this property for the last 14 years. It was purchased by the current owners in 2007. My home was also built in 1900.
Cool.
And upon review of the proposal, it's clear that one of these buildings is not like the others. All the other properties included are in good repair, essence, except for one, which is 441 F Street. The property's been an eyesore and in a state of neglect and disrepair throughout my time in the neighborhood. It is a haven for the neighborhood's feral cat colony and other critters. Well, we're not discussing the backyard. And I do fear that neglect has also compromised the building's structural integrity. Updates in the last 2 years were made to avoid purported city censure from the city, including painting only 2 sides of the building, installing new glass in the large front window and door, and adding external support beams, structural support beams. The building was vandalized soon after these improvements or updates were made, and the current owners did nothing to repair the damage for over 6 months until it was mentioned at a recent neighborhood meeting where the project was discussed. The proposed landmark designation does not require restoration of the properties to a specific historic period. However, the designation does establish expectations for the continued maintenance and preservation of the character-defining exterior features. The owners of this property have failed for over a decade to maintain the building and have been negligent in their stewardship. I fear the inclusion of this building and the change of designation and zoning will further provide the property owners an excuse to avoid investing in the maintenance and preservation of the building due to the historical designation. While overall I am supportive of the project, if this building at 441 F Street is included and rezoning is approved, I would strongly urge the commission to strengthen the language around building maintenance and preservation to hold property owners accountable for their failure to adhere to the expectations about maintenance and preservation. Thank you.
Any questions for this testimony?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Testimony in a neutral position? Thank you. Either one's fine.
I'm Steve Ramos. That's my neighbor, Tony. I live at 429 F Street. I've lived there for 25 years, and I've just watched this property just deteriorate constantly. The whole neighborhood was kind of scary for a while there. I was afraid to deliver pizza there. Then I ended up moving in, and there was a beef jerky plant. That was funny. But and train tracks, but it's been cleaned up so well, and so many different people have bought properties and just rebuilt them and made them just amazing. So my property values are very high now, but I love it because it's an absolutely great neighborhood, and it's so close to Park Middle School. TMCO is there, and they bought up a whole bunch of properties, and they've just really made the whole place vibrant. It's so vibrant that we had Streets Alive in our neighborhood. So if you're familiar with that, there are so many cats. They're everywhere. There's woodchucks. Have you ever seen a woodchuck? I have. They live on that property, and so just it does look like it's about to fall down. It was really sad when they did some work on it, and then like all the windows got smashed out right away, and it's just a bummer. But it is the eyesore of the neighborhood now. So, but I'm really supportive of the whole project. I think it's great, but I don't know if this one really lives up to the designation that it should get, so or could get.
Okay, thank you. Other testimony in a neutral position? Testimony in opposition? Okay. Staff questions? Any other questions? Okay. Applicant rebuttal, which again is same person. You're more than welcome to come up and talk about any of the comments.
Well, 441 is the one that I've gotten the most calls about, I will admit. I guess I hope that this will kind of shine a little spotlight on it and make it more tempting or more immediate, the need to take some care of it. It's hard to say. But just because we landmark it, you know, like if it continues to deteriorate, it can still be torn down at some point. There are processes for that, that we would remove it from landmark status, or so, you know, it's not that it has to be kept in its current condition forever and allowed to just languish. So.
Okay.
That's what I was
Questions? Yes, please,
I have
Commissioner.
a system question. You might not be able to answer it, but I am curious. I mean, these neighbors obviously have tried to communicate the concern about the building. I mean, at what point does city require it to come up to standard? I mean, at what point is it very unsafe to have this building there?
That might not be a question that I can
yeah,
answer.
that's okay. I just want to
Good.
give them. I want to give the neighbors some answers of maybe what's some more action they can take to try to highly encourage either the renovation or
David Carey, Director of the Planning and Development Service Department, 555 South 10th Street. So on the building code enforcement arm of the department, so that question is that those types of situations, the good news is that for a city our size, they're fairly few and far between, but there is amount of those that happen, and we have a large effort in our department to work with neighbors and property owners in those situations. It does take some time. It is largely, almost always, a complaint basis of a response. So we do respond very quickly to situations like that. We get there and we make sure we understand what's happening, provide some options and some information about how to handle the situation. But it's not necessarily an overnight fix. We do respect people's property rights. So there's a process that we go through, and but again, getting back to the topic that we're here for today,
right.
The hope and idea is that this type of designation can be can spur on some type of investment to help this and in the other locations to be something more and better than what they are or have been since the glory days of 100 years ago or so.
Yeah.
Total separate question. So I've probably been in 2 or 3 of these, and it's great work. I love these sessions, so thank you. But how do structures come on to get that designation? Is it only this forum, or can it happen after? Like, hey, I want to apply to make a special designation for a storefront. Like, can it happen outside this forum, or is this the only?
Well, there are a couple of answers to that. I've written this so that we could add on to it if we get some more property owners who say, oh, you know what, I really wish I hadn't missed out on that. I'd like to be part of that corner stores district. Happy to add to them that way. There's also a whole separate process that's more federal, that's a National Register of Historic Places. There are no restrictions placed on those building property owners to do anything in particular with their building. But there are some federal tax credits for income producing purposes. So that process would typically still come through HPC for approval before it went to the state review board and then the National Park Service. Does that answer your question?
It does. And is that on our website, planning website, where if someone has interest, they have the tools to reach out?
I think it directs you to me, and then I can help them navigate all of that. Yeah, I think so. We mostly focus on the landmarking because the National Register is a bit more under the SHPO's purview, but I help navigate that too and work with them and the SHPO to get that accomplished if that's their wish.
HPC stands for?
Historic Preservation Commission.
And SHPO stands for?
State Historic Preservation Office. Thank you. You know, those acronyms just seek in. And
I do.
Talk to Gloria.
You keep me honest, Gloria.
Commissioner.
I don't know how things may have changed, but decades ago I purchased, most recently Willie's Tavern, but before that it was the Walton Mercantile, and it was a working store in the town of Walton. I approached Ed Zimmer and said, should I get historic designation? And he said, not until you've made any renovations to the property. Even putting up screwing in a light bulb, he said probably is going to take application in triplicate. And we never did get the designation. And now a subsequent owner has just torn it down, and it was 140 some years old. And they actually had school on the upstairs and dances, and it's. I kind of wish we would have gotten that designation, but at the time, I was advised against it because of the renovations we wanted to make. What has changed?
Well, a couple of things. It could be that Mr. Zimmer, Dr. Zimmer, knew you had plans that maybe wouldn't be very compatible with the landmarking. I don't know. But it also sounds like he just thought that those should happen beforehand so that they were, if it were to be landmarked, it would be landmarked in its condition, its current condition, which is maybe a much better condition than it was in then.
Yeah.
You know, the thing that has changed the most in the last few years is that in I am a historian. I gotta talk about the past. 2024, my predecessor, Stephanie Rouse, consolidated all of our design guidelines, which we had one for every kind of landmark. So there were over 140 different documents saying how each different historic property should be administered and reviewed. But they were largely consistent. You know, the standards for how we treat historic properties is really pretty consistent across the board. So that's all been consolidated into one design standard, which is available on our website. But it also has given me the ability to be able to do some administrative things for projects that follow the standards and there aren't any questionable things that we need to run past the Historic Preservation Commission. If it follows the standards, I can write a letter for David Carey's signature and help someone within a day, usually, unless either of us are out of town. So we can expedite things that way. And sometimes I'm able to talk people into doing something a little more preservation friendly than they maybe had considered at the outset, just because it's faster and easier, or they hadn't considered that a different product might look better in a more historic light. So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Are we ready?
We're ready.
I move to close the public hearing.
Second, Rodenberg.
Ball,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Edens,
Yes.
Fight,
Yes.
Rodenberg.
Yes.
Ryman Yost.
Yes.
Joy.
Yes.
Public hearing closed.
I move to approve change of zone. Yes. 26007.
Second, Rodenberg.
Okay. Who would, go ahead, Commissioner?
I have lots to say, but I'll try to keep it really, really brief. I'm really excited about this. I'm a local history buff, and this is just exciting to see these old stores come back to life. When Stephanie was in your position, she did the research on my house in my little old neighborhood, and we had a corner store where my garage sits now in 1913. And the story goes that because it's so close to the alley, they couldn't tear down the whole thing. So one original wall still exists as part of my garage, but it was torn down in 1977.
Huh.
Anyhow, we have a resident that lives across the street, and that's actually where they used to vote, is in these little corner stores. So she would go to what is now my garage and vote when she just turned 18. So it's a cool story, and I'm excited about the one that NeighborWorks owns. When I first had kids, it was an antique store, and we used to take the kids, just walk over there and go into this huge antique store, and all the original stuff was still inside. Then it became an architecture place, and they tore out the inside, and I was sad to see that go. But they restored, when NeighborWorks bought it, or maybe the one before that, they restored the original IGA store sign above that. And so it's just kind of cool to see the progress of life in these little stores across our communities, and I'm excited to support it. And I hope the one on F Street sees the light, joins the good crowd.
Yeah.
Yes, Commissioner.
I just thank you for the history lesson, because it is really fun to see how the pendulum swings, because, you know, like you said, we push toward residential is here, commercial's here, and now we're kind of going back to trying to do these infill and forming these little communities within our big community. So thank you for the history lesson. And please, neighbors, continue just to use your voice to complain about that property, because like we said, we're very much on a complaint basis action for our planning department or our building safety. So please continue to activate that, and hopefully this can bring change to that 441 F Street.
I would be remiss if I did not mention my grandfather had a green grocery at 10th and P.
10th and P.
It's
cool.
now Embassy Suites, but
There you go.
lost out on the opportunity for preservation. But yeah, I love the idea of keeping these. I love driving around town and seeing them, and so I will also be in favor. That's cool.
And I would be remiss not to share my grocer background with my grandparents in Schubert, Unadilla, and Adams.
Wow.
And IGA, drive to Lincoln, get their supplies on gravel roads at 55 miles an hour. But, you know, it's just fun. So thank you again for that history lesson. It was great for all of us, and it brings back warm memories. I will also be in support. Shelley.
All right, Ball,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Edens,
Yes.
Veit,
Yes.
Rodenberg.
Yes.
Ryman Yost,
Yes.
Joy.
Yes.
Approved 7-0.
Thank you.
Okay. Item 4.5, special permit 26016, associated with changes zone 26007 for historic preservation change in use generally located at South 17th Street and Harwood Street. This is final action. Are there any ex parte communications to be disclosed on this item?
There are none.
Are there any ex parte communications that took place or additional information you learned about visiting the site to be disclosed?
No. Thank you. Yes.
Hello.
Welcome.
So this is, I'm Jill Dahlberg, Historic Preservation Planner, 555 South 10th. That is not a habit yet. This is one of those projects that came to us that made it clear that the change in zone for a thematic district might be helpful to us. So this is 1921 South 17th. It was Snyder Grocer, in case you wanted to know. It's currently located in an R2 residential district and has a non-conforming use, which limits its use to office, single-family dwellings, banks, a few little things that are very similar. It's owned by Speedway, and they would like to expand the potential uses to include single and two-family dwellings, short-term rentals, neighborhood support services, personal services, retail sales, service and repair facilities, thinking small like appliances or something, I think. Not like automotive. A commercial kitchen, so like for a caterer, or in recreational facilities indoor. I wanted to just show you, you can kind of peek behind this building. There's no parking. The parking that's available is really along the street. There's also no particular yard. So there were a lot of things that kind of didn't make sense for the site. Like you can't have a veterinary clinic, I think, there without having a yard to take the dogs out to or what have you. So rather than have this very long list of things that belonged in B1, like it's not going to make a good marina either. It turns out. We started to limit the list to the things that kind of made sense. And I think they are eager for something like personal services, like a nail salon or a hair salon. They'd love to have retail sales back in it. Yeah. So I also wanted to just show you the overhead view of the property. I think it's a little askew, but yeah, there's even what's back behind the building is not really any space to be utilized. It's really just the building. So it's currently used as an office, but they would like to have the flexibility in the future to be able to offer other uses to folks. So this special permit would create that list of things that were acceptable.
Okay. Questions? Yes.
Yeah, I think we're on the same, yeah. So retail sales then leads me to the
Vapes.
concern that was
The raise, yeah.
Yeah, raised by people in the neighborhood around vape smoke shop.
Yes, it's interesting. We had conversations with the neighborhood. We brought Craig Smith in to talk about it, and he indicated we don't really have any interest in putting a vape shop in there, but they feel very strongly about it. I think I might ask Steve to come up, who has far more experience in these kinds of things, to assist me.
Steve Hendrickson, Planning and Development Services, 555 South 10th Street. So this is a non-conforming use. So without the special permit, they can continue to have office use or residential use. This previously was actually used for retail sales, but then once they leased it for 2 years to an office user, they lost the ability to have retail sales, which they had had for decades. They also lost the ability to have personal services like a barber shop or something else like that as well. And the special permit for non-conforming use does not have any ability to grant you back uses. The idea with the non-conforming category of the chapter is, as you go from less intensive to less intensive to less intensive, you can't go back to something that is slightly more intensive. So this special permit, but it comes along with the strings of historic preservation. If you tear the building down, you've completely lost the non-conforming use because you've lost the special permit, and you've also removed the building as well. So in this case, they would be allowed the general category of retail. And in our zoning ordinance, we do not differentiate different kinds of products other than alcohol sales. So there isn't any category that says vape is treated differently than cigarettes, that is treated differently than selling magazines or selling videos. They're all legal products. So in this case, that's why when we were talking about it, we said we couldn't recommend, because we don't have any basis for deciding a vape shop is more intensive. Certainly there's some uses like a car wash. You might say, well, that has longer hours of operation, more noise, that has more of an impact. Or automobile automobile repair, that can be a more intensive aspect to it. But starting to differentiate between different retail products is very difficult to be able to show that one retail product has more of an impact than another. That said, if the Planning Commission is interested in pulling out one particular use, we can have language for you for that. But that is our comment on that is why we didn't include differentiating one out. And not to say most of the comments I've heard people say about vape shops has to do with the signage. And signage is really a matter of enforcement. So if somebody sees a vape shop that's in commercial zoning district and is allowed use, but the signs, there's 16 signs out front, you turn it into our department, and we've had those kind of calls where we go out and say, you don't have sign permits for these, you have too many of your more signs than allowed.
Questions? Yes, Commissioner.
Go ahead, Gloria, if you...
No, go ahead. I'm still formulating.
So to confirm, once this is approved or denied or amended or whatever we do, they don't have to come back to us to decide what to do with it.
That is correct. Right now, as it is drafted, it says personal services and retail sales. So that would allow the range of that. It does not include alcohol sales. So alcohol sales is one category that has been differentiated from the rest, and this list does not include that. It also doesn't include then car washes and automobile repair. It has a very specific list of uses that are permitted.
Thank you. Do you want to add on?
That covered it.
Okay. Any other questions for staff? Okay, thank you. Testimony from the applicant?
Good afternoon. My name is Michaela Sweeney. I am a representative from Speedway Properties, located at 340 Victory Lane. As Jill said, we met with the Near South Neighborhood Association, which is where this little facility is located. And we met with them twice, and each time it came up, the vape shop situation. And it's kind of challenging where it's under retail. We couldn't just exclude it from the list. So we did put a letter, which is I think what you're referring to. You received a letter that Clay signed off on. They're not interested in putting a vape shop in there. The other discussion that kept coming up was the light pollution from some of those, and that was something that they also agreed that they would make sure that the lighting was appropriate for the building and for the historical context. They really want to be, the Speedway wants to be a good corporate citizen. They want to maintain the character of the building and have it a place that, you know, we can have our kids walk by it going to school and coming home. So that's where they are coming from with the situation. So.
Okay, questions for the applicant?
Just if the commission would discuss amending the special permit so that like eliminating the opportunity for like a vape shop in order to reflect the historic integrity of the property, Speedway would not be opposed to that then, given the letter that was submitted?
No, they would not be opposed.
Good question.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Testimony in support? Testimony in a neutral position? Testimony in opposition? Staff questions? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Who would like to come up?
This,
We're
probably on
Everybody.
You better both be up there just in case.
this designation runs with the land. It's not just for Speedway. This would, if they sell it, they still have that designation.
Good question, great.
Okay, the same one?
Oh,
promise it.
perfect.
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure I was on the right page with it.
The other thing to note is that the signage would still be reviewed under the Historic Preservation Commission. So those, if someone were to propose big lighted signs, we would intervene.
Okay. Do we want to ask any other questions about any amendments at this point?
I wondered
We're
if
going to amend?
I wondered if we wanted to do that under discussion.
Right, but do you have a staff question on how to do it?
Well, we can't just exclude vape shops. We'd have to exclude retail services, correct?
No, what we were advising you is that picking out one particular product is not what we would advise. As part of your conditions, you may pick out a particular product based on what other communities, a few communities have tried to differentiate it. We have some language prepared if you want to take a look at that.
I do have a question. So, cigarettes are limited by age, right? So you can't buy cigarettes, or are vape shops the same way where there's a limit by age? Thank you.
Pretty sure that's true.
I don't know the answer in terms of how one thing or another is differentiated.
Here's our attorney's.
Oh, hello, attorney.
Attorneys are coming. We got the whole crew
Who knew
now.
the most complicated one today was going to be the very last one?
Usually it's, isn't it?
Yeah.
Tim C. with the City Attorney's Office, 555 South 10th.
Oh.
I cannot tell you specifically if there are age limits on purchasing vapes, but I would say, just remind the commission that we're here to talk about land use, and so there may be rules and restrictions out there, but those are probably outside the scope of what's in front of us today. But Steve's got it apparently.
Yes, it was just simply languages that came from looking at other communities. The term vape is a very specific category. So you would actually, if you're trying to limit the use, you would actually include electronic cigarettes, vaporizers, e-liquids, and then the accessories of those as well.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Any
this-
other staff?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, this is something that had come up before, so I'm in discussion of other things, and especially with this being around the historic designation. Thank you, Steve.
Thank
Set
you.
the tone now.
Any other questions for staff before we move to applicant rebuttal? Applicant rebuttal?
Anything else?
Would you like to add anything? No problem. Thank you.
I move we close the public hearing.
Second, Rodenberg?
Ball?
Yes, yes, sorry.
Cruz?
Yes.
Edens?
Yes.
Fight?
Yes.
Rodenberg?
Yes.
Ryman Yost?
Yes.
Joy?
Yes.
Public hearing closed.
Let's see if I can do this. I move to approve special permit 26016.
With the added language or no?
Well, did you want to do it in one big swoop, or you want to do an amendment after that? What's the best? I'm new at this.
I think it has to go.
I think
Go
you
with
say
it.
with amendment.
With an amendment to prohibit retail uses including selling vape, electronic cigarettes, vaporizers, e-liquids, or accessories related to vape, electronic cigarettes, vaporizers, or e-liquids.
Second, Ryman Yost.
Discussion.
I think this is a great fit to broaden what this particular building can do. I do understand the vape concern, and I think we set a precedence now that we're just not going to have vapes in these residential areas and things of that nature. I shouldn't use just the word vape, but things of those natures in this little compact residential area.
So, yes, thank you. I am supportive of the special permit, but I'm not supportive of the amendment. You know, I do think there are tools to avoid some of the concerns that residents had, but I think calling out the specific retail use sets precedents, maybe not for the right thing. And so I'm not supportive of that.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I mean, I share that with Commissioner Ball. I'm just concerned that there will be just more new things that occur that can be sold that are bad, and we can't go back and like add to this list. So it's just, it feels very like, you know, THC or I don't know, just a variety of things that maybe their neighborhood believes is bad and shouldn't be sold. So I am concerned about calling out this list because it can't encompass everything in the world. So I'm kind of still on the fence. So I would love more discussion.
I mean, right now, it would be any kind of, as written or as proposed originally, any kind of retail would be acceptable.
Right.
Right?
Right. Right.
Even adult products.
Lingerie, yeah, true. Lingerie and yeah.
Or worse.
True.
Or
Romantics.
like
Romantics.
Yeah.
alcohol.
Alcohol.
Yeah,
And
not
car
alcohol
washes.
and not car stuff, auto, yeah.
Right, that's not
Yeah.
Or
identified.
auto.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Only the stuff identified.
And I hear the concern about putting limiting language, and I appreciate the kind of like free market, people should be able to, you know, if it's in with the use.
Right.
My concern is just that, especially because this is with this new historic property, it has more to do with that.
Yeah.
And hearing concerns from people about that. So that's why I'm supportive of this language in this particular special use permit. Just reflecting the neighborhood's concerns.
Yeah.
And because the applicant also has submitted in writing that they would accept this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably leaning more towards staff's original recommendation to not limit items. And so I'm probably with Commissioner Ball and not in favor, even though it's completely supported by the landowner and those types of things. I'm probably leaning towards the no with the amendment because of the concept of just some it's bad and others choose to participate, but the historic process is in place with an entire commission that reviews. So it has to go through some pretty good steps where we limit signage, we limit those types of things that are our land use items, not regulating people's morals or use of product.
And just keeping in mind that should the applicant choose to sell, the permit goes with the restriction. So, you know, we'd be setting this precedent for a long, long period of time, ostensibly, so.
Any other comments or discussion points, Commissioner?
Yes, I agree with Commissioner Ball that think this sets a precedent of regulating morals.
Just want to say, this has nothing to do with morals. It does not. It's not a moral issue. For me, anyway. I don't want that to be
No,
on the record.
It's
that
responding to the
immoral.
neighbor.
It's responding to the
and
neighborhood
wants, yes,
concerns.
Yeah.
It's what do they want in their neighborhood?
And keeping
Yep.
to the historic, right, so.
That's.
So we will have an issue because the motion was introduced as amended. If it is going to fail, then the whole thing doesn't advance. So we may need to introduce a motion
And then we'll have to do another
To do a
motion.
separate, yeah.
Yes, you'd have the option then to make a new motion without the amendment.
I appreciate your comment about morals because that's a good point. That's not what we're talking about.
No,
We're
yeah,
talking
we're
about land use and retail use in a situation that was brought up by neighborhoods.
It is a unique, I agree, that's why I'm on the fence. I mean, it's a unique location. It is surrounded by residential. I mean, just south of there is South Street. South Street already has a vape shop right there. There's Mitterlock Coffee, there's Valentino. I mean, there's a place to do other retail available to folks who want to do that. So that's why I'm on the fence. Like, I understand the need for this and responding to the neighborhood's needs and wants and safety even of the kids in that neighborhood. But I'm also understanding the argument that why are we limiting the use, because there are other uses that could be considered unsafe or that we're not including. Yeah.
So without the setting precedent aspect of it, but the special permit for historic preservation, the outside features of the property has to go through review.
Yeah, that very last.
So
bullet
in
on
the
here.
event that a business does come and want to be a vape shop, there are specific requirements to ensure it conforms to the expectation of this. So there's that tool and vehicle to limit the concern, some of the concerns, not necessarily the business itself, but there's the ability to control that in a way. I mean, and that's the reason I would say no to the amendment, because then just from a free market perspective, you're setting precedent on what other type of businesses will be limited based off of what we say here. Not just for this particular property, but any other building or permit that comes forward in front of us.
Yeah, great point.
Is this final action? Is this final action?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Any other discussion before we vote? Okay, let's call the vote, please, Shelley.
All right, Ball,
No.
Cruz,
No.
Edens,
Yes.
Fight,
No.
Rodenberg,
No.
Ryman Yost,
Yes.
Joy.
No.
Motion failed due to not getting 5 confirming votes.
Who would like to call the next motion?
Okay, I can.
Okay, Commissioner Ball.
So I make a motion to approve special permit 26016.
Second, fight.
Okay, more discussion.
I think it was discussed
Yeah,
earlier.
No
discuss
problem, no
it.
problem.
No,
I'm just
no
giving
discuss.
everybody
I think I'm
an
good.
opportunity. Any other opportunity
We
to
just
discuss?
disagree.
Then we will call the motion. Call the vote.
All right, Ball,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Edens,
No.
Fight,
Yes.
Rodenberg,
Yes.
Ryman Yost,
No.
Joy.
Yes.
Motion approved 5-2.
A long time since we've had.
I know, it's split vote.
Robust discussion.
Good discussion, great
Everyone,
discussion.
very good. At this time, anyone wishing to speak on an item not on the agenda may do so. Adjournment?
I move adjournment.
Second, Rodenberg.
Ball,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Edens,
Yes.
Fight,
Yes.
Rodenberg,
Yes.
Ryman Yost,
Yes.
Joy.
Yes.
We are adjourned.
Thank you, everyone. Great.